Howdy YouTube, EZArcher here with a video for you today. I'm going to talk about my EZArcher project. I know a few weeks ago or a couple weeks ago I said I'd put this on hold for a while, and I then proceeded to do some updates, some tweaking, and I finally got around to looking at some contribution from a viewer on getting Archiso or EZArcher working with the new Archiso way of doing things, of building the ISO. Now, I know I complained about changes in Archiso because it really necessitated a huge change in the way I build my EZArcher. Now, the wiki has been updated nicely. It has a lot of good information on how to use the new Archiso, how to customize it, and working off of this wiki, it is really it's possible to duplicate so far most of what I've done in the past. Now, there are some changes that I still need to work out, some kinks here and there, but for the most part everything seems to be working well. And I'll go into the caveats as we look at this. But up on my SourceForge page, the project has been updated, the description a little bit. The new ISOs are up for 10/18/2020. The EZArcher Kala edition is the only ISO I will be building and making available. It is around the same 1.7 gigs. There are plenty of mirrors at the moment. The more you download, the more mirrors will remain available. The Calamares has been rebuilt yesterday. Calamares has done a couple of releases in the past 2 days. The first to fix problems with partitioning, I believe, that Arco was experiencing, and then a day later to fix a problem with the KPM core, which is the partitioning core of KDE, wasn't working. I couldn't get Calamares, the 3.2.32 release, to even compile until they released the 3.2.32.1 to fix that problem. So we have a brand new Calamares, works with the newer KPM Core 4.2 that's now current in Arch. So the older versions of Calamares probably will not work because they were compiled against an older version of KPM Core. So it necessitated a rebuild of Calamares a couple times, get that right and working. Going forward, I don't see how distributions are going to ship the newer KPM Core 4.2 and older versions of Calamares. I just don't think that will work anymore. So be prepared. You'll probably see quite a few rebuilds very quickly of your favorite Arch-based distributions. Let's see, under my templates folder, we now have new templates for all of the desktop builds. Now, here is where one major caveat will come into play. The new templates build just fine on my installed Arch. Now, some of the changes to Archiso necessitate inserting symlinks into the build folder to enable networking, to enable display manager, to enable what else? Networking. Those are the two most important, networking and display manager. So when Archiso is run, or MK Archiso, the back end, it resolves the symlinks, and the symlinks, when you're on an Arch system, will point to the symlinks in your host system or your build system. It's not ideal. I haven't figured out a way around it quite yet that doesn't involve recreating the files in the build, but creating symlinks within the build to files in the build. The symlinks won't work on the live system or installed system, so I'm not really sure how I'm going to get around this. The templates build, as I said, they build just fine on EZArcher. They probably will not build fine on your system if there's certain differences between your system and the EZArcher packages and setup. Notably, if your system does not use LightDM, then the display manager will probably not work on the build system or the ISO. If you don't use Network Manager and you use another networking backend, that probably won't work either. So there are certain caveats there that I'm not sure exactly how to get around just yet. So what I can suggest is, if you're interested in playing with these templates, go ahead and download my ISO. Use my ISO in VirtualBox. This is actually how I build the ISOs. I have Arch installed the way I like it installed in VirtualBox, and then I build the ISO inside that VirtualBox. It seems to work just fine. So if you want to play around with the templates, go ahead, grab my ISO, install it inside VirtualBox. Calamari's installer works just fine. Tested it in EFI and legacy modes. The EZArcher scripts work just fine. The EZArcher install guides still work just fine. Let's head on over to looking at the system running. And you'll probably notice it looks a lot like the system from a few days ago and the previous systems. The desktop is the same, XFCE. There is no link to the documentation in the live users folder or the resulting folder yet. I forgot to put in the link in the etc directory to the EZArcher documentation. It's still here. It's in USR, share, and then if we head on down to EZArcher, you have the docs, you have the guides, and you have the scripts. So I will get that linked back into the home folder relatively soon. I wanted to get this out. I wanted to get it in the hands of people who might be interested in trying it out. The build process, as I said, is very different. You know what? Let's go ahead and take a look at that. So what we're going to do is we're going to shut this VM down, and we're going to go start up a different VM, the actual virtual machine I use to build EZArcher. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'll show you all of the changes to the build process, or at least I'll show you the new build process. And I'll try to describe what the differences are. So hopefully this will start up relatively soon here. There we go. Now my build machine, I'm not really, it doesn't really matter what it looks like. I kept the default XFCE for the most part. So let's open up the home folder here. And I have an EZArcher folder with all of the project files. Now, almost all of these are available on my SourceForge page. The calamares we talked about already. Brand new build. The documentation, the guides, the scripts, and the templates. So let's take a look at the templates here. Now, the Kala new template, we'll use this as the example here. You'll notice, if you remember, the old template had a few more files in it, at least out in the open here. We have a new script called profile.def.sh. We have a steps script as well, which is quite a bit different. There's a changes file. Now these changes were all implemented by a viewer, as I said, Matthias or Matthias. Thank you very much for providing all of this work. Now, what he did, and this is following the Arch guide, the Arch Wiki, Archiso, is created the three big symlinks we're going to need. The network manager, the system resolve, systemd resolve D link, and the light DM link. Now, graphical target is requires a login still, of course. I like it that way. He made sure the ISO name is correctly implemented. The username, password, and groups all have to be done manually now. The localization came up with a working solution. I don't know if it's the most optimal, but it certainly works. Is instead of running customize EZArcher, which will be deprecated very soon, he came up with a systemd service that runs the locale gen upon build, and that seems to work just fine. So there's no reliance anymore on the old build.sh. There's no reliance on the customize EZArcher either. All of this is done, all the work is done in my steps.sh file. So let's take a look at the steps.sh file, because it's quite a bit different now. And you know what? Let's just make this big. A lot of it looks the same. The entire top half here is pretty much the same. It gets a little different, or very different, right after the set username, password, and root password. Now, you can change the user password and root password by changing them here, changing these variables. Sets up the password file right here. Sets up the group, the proper groups. Sets up the shadow file for the actual hashed encrypted passwords. Now these will encrypt whatever you type in here into the right hash, basically. Set the keyboard layout right here, and in Xorg as well. Set the sudoers permission. Now root, I just noticed this. Yeah. Root's password appears to be the sudo password, which I'm not sure I want it that way, but it works for the moment. So locale is set up here as well. And let's see, generating a new mirror list is done right here. And then finally, after all the setup steps are done, we have the creating of the ISO. And that's done by a program, mk-archiso. That's always been the way it's done. The old build.sh script used to call this program to actually do the building. The output will be put in a folder called reling. However, there is going to be an out folder with the ISO and a work folder. So when you want to clean up after the build, you're going to delete reling and you're going to delete work. And then the out folder will have your ISO. Let's see, what else? As I used to do before, I copy in Calamares into the build. I don't install it as a package. So at the end of the day, when you use Calamares to install EZArcher, it doesn't get uninstalled in the system. If you don't like it, you can remove the launcher. I hadn't gotten around to getting that done either automatically like I did in the previous build. And that about covers it. And as you see, we have all of the project files here for the various templates. So there you have it, folks. When you run EZArcher, if you go to System, oh no, I'm not. I'm running my build system. Forgot, I rebooted into the build system. Let's get out of this again. Let's open up my test VM and we'll go to the new live system here. I want to show you Calamares running actually, because I did a few branding changes that hopefully people will enjoy and actually will inform during the installation. You get a little slideshow now. So I just got to wait for this to come up here and log in. Then we can get down to business. Okay, let's get our resolution sorted here. Cool. Now, under System, there is EZArcher installer, Calamares. It will want your user password, so live. And as you can see, we have the big XFCE mouse and logo, and it's sort of hidden by the languages, but I don't mind that. So let's go ahead and get the installer started here. So let's go ahead and erase the disk. We now have Calamares provides an option swapped file if you want to set up a swap file instead of a partition. We're going to go with partition. And let's go ahead and do it. You can see a little slideshow now with some messages. Look inside the USR share EZArcher for documentation. Hopefully people will see that while they're installing and remember to do that. You never know with users. They can be a little weird sometimes. I'm just going to wait until a couple more slides go by. There's a thank you for using EZArcher. You can see it's pretty simple stuff here. But I think it looks better than just a solid white background with nothing going on. And I think there are only 3 slides. There might be 4 actually. But it's really just the text that's going to change. Background is the lava lamp. Welcome to EZArcher Kala Edition, an Arch-based rolling distribution. And what's the last one? That's number 3. Well, number 1, but it started in the middle. I believe the last one is bragging that it's 100% Arch compatible. Yes, EZArcher is 100% compatible with Arch Linux. So there you go, folks. Take a look inside the USR, share, EZArcher if you want my scripts, guides, or docs. Otherwise, you can use Calamari's installer. Should work just fine. Have fun. Take care. And maybe you'll see me in another video. You might see my avatar. I don't know. I sort of like the not having the camera on me all the time. I will say bye-bye. Good night. Good day. Wherever you are.